In previous episodes of Season 04 Bookish Mind, we covered all chapters of Atomic Habits by James Clear. Today, in this special bonus wrap-up, Season 04, Episode 21 of Bookish Mind, we're unlocking the profound truth that your habits are not just things you have, but rather who you become, embarking on a journey of endless self-refinement.
That's right. And for this deep dive, our mission is really to synthesize the core insights from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It's such a groundbreaking piece of work.
It really is.
We're going to explore how these concepts, they aren't just about tweaking your daily routine or like doing more stuff. It's much, much deeper than that.
Yeah, it's not just about productivity hacks.
Exactly. This book fundamentally shifts how we understand shaping who we are and, crucially, who we're becoming.
Yeah.
It's really about embracing this journey of continuous self-refinement. That's such a powerful idea.
It is.
And you see its impact everywhere, right? Atomic Habits has had this huge global reach precisely because it offers practical, really actionable strategies, not just for building good habits, but also, importantly, for breaking the bad ones that just don't serve you anymore.
Right, the ones holding you back.
It's essentially about designing your life, one tiny choice at a time.
Okay, let's dig into that. What makes Atomic Habits so compelling right from the start is James Clear's own story. It really sets the stage perfectly for these big ideas.
Oh, absolutely.
His journey wasn't just some abstract thought experiment. It came from a really personal, really challenging place. He talks about this severe baseball injury he got back in high school.
Yeah, it sounds horrific.
It does. A broken nose, like half a dozen facial fractures, a bulging eye, double vision for weeks.
Wow.
It took him 8 months before he could even drive again. And he was doing physical therapy just to, walk in a straight line. Basic stuff. He describes feeling like his life was just on pause, feeling depressed, totally overwhelmed, and just painfully aware of how far he had to climb back.
And what's fascinating, isn't it, is how that adversity became the very foundation for his insights later on.
Right.
He realized there wasn't, one single defining moment. No dramatic recovery montage that took him from a coma to academic All-American.
No movie moment.
Exactly. He calls it a gradual evolution, a long series of small wins and tiny breakthroughs. Because the situation was so severe, his only real option was to start small.
Had to.
He couldn't just jump back in. He had to focus on the absolute basics, walking again, seeing clearly, getting basic functions back online. And what's amazing is he applied that exact same mindset years later when he started his own business and even when he started writing this book.
Ah, that's interesting.
That personal experience, overcoming these huge challenges through tiny, consistent steps. Well, that's the bedrock of the whole book. It just underscores the power of that incremental progress.
And that experience leads us straight into one of the book's absolute core principles, this compounding effect of tiny habits. It's not about the big, flashy changes, but the slow accumulation over time.
Precisely. It's almost counterintuitive, isn't it? In a world obsessed with, grand gestures and overnight success.
Totally.
James Clear explains results as lagging measures of your habits. Think about it. Financial health isn't really about one big windfall, right?
Right.
It's a lagging measure of your financial habits over years, decades even. Daily spending, saving consistently, investing regularly, your weight. A lagging measure of your eating habits, your knowledge, lagging measure of your learning habits. Even like the clutter in your house is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits.
Okay, I see the pattern.
The core idea is so simple, but the implications are huge. You get what you repeat. If you want to predict where you'll end up, just look at the curve of these tiny gains or tiny losses.
So those small daily choices really add up.
They define your future self. Are you spending less than you earn most months? Getting to the gym most weeks? Reading, learning something new each day. These tiny daily battles are what shape you. Time just magnifies the difference between success and failure.
It works both ways, positive and negative.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is, these tiny improvements, when they compound, they don't just add up, they multiply. That 1% better everyday stat is incredible, ending up 37 times better after a year.
Wow.
Versus a 1% decline each day, which takes you almost down to zero. It's a huge difference from seemingly tiny changes.
That concept is so powerful, and, it immediately explains why so many people get discouraged, myself included.
Oh, definitely.
You start something new, you don't see results right away, and it's just frustrating. You think, I've been doing this for a week. Why isn't anything changing?
It absolutely can be. And this is where Clear talks about the valley of disappointment and the plateau of latent potential.
Right, I remember those terms.
We expect progress to be, like, linear, don't we? Start a diet, go to the gym for a week, expect big changes.
Yeah, you want that instant feedback.
But the reality is, in those early days, weeks, even months, the changes can seem totally ineffective. You put in the work, but it feels like you're stuck in mud.
Hmm.
That lack of immediate visible progress is just a hallmark of any compounding process. The most powerful outcomes are delayed. And that delay, that's one of the core reasons why building habits that actually last is so damn hard.
People give up too soon.
They quit
Yeah.
because they don't get that immediate gratification our brains are kind of wired to expect.
So it's not that the effort is wasted. It's
Correct.
just being stored, like that ice cube analogy he uses.
Exactly. It's a perfect analogy. Complaining you're not successful despite working hard is like complaining the ice cube isn't melting when you've only heated it from, say, 25 to 31 degrees.
Okay.
Your work wasn't wasted. It's just building up potential energy. All the visible action happens right at 32 degrees, the melting
A
point.
breakthrough point.
Right. And when you finally break through that plateau of latent potential, people call it an overnight success. But they only see the dramatic result, not all the unseen, consistent work that came before.
They don't see the grind.
They don't see the weeks, months, maybe years of what looked like futile effort. They just see the jump. But it's the effort you put in way back when it felt like nothing was happening, that makes today's jump possible.
Like geological pressure building up.
That's a great way to put it. Tectonic plates grinding for years, building tension, then boom, an earthquake. The change seems sudden, but the work accumulated for ages. So getting through that plateau isn't just about grit, it's about building that internal resilience. That's real self-refinement.
Knowing that can make such a difference when you're in that valley.
It's maybe the single most important thing to keep you from quitting.
Okay, that's a critical mindset shift. And speaking of mindset, one of the most counterintuitive ideas in the book is that focusing too much on results can actually backfire. We're always told, set big goals, chase outcomes. But Clear suggests a totally different approach for real, lasting change. So for those of us, raised on that goals first idea, what are the traps?
Well, it raises a really important point. The book argues that the results themselves aren't the actual problem. It's the systems that produce those results.
Okay, systems over goals.
Exactly. Trying to fix problems just at the results level, that's only temporary. Think about a messy room. Cleaning it fixes the mess for a bit.
But it gets messy again.
Right. If your system for organizing is broken, the mess comes back. True, lasting improvement means fixing the problems at the systems level. The mantra is clear. Fix the inputs, and the outputs will fix themselves.
So if you're always late, it's not just about trying harder to be on time.
It's about fixing the system. Maybe your morning routine is inefficient, or you never factor in traffic. Just telling yourself be on time will eventually fail if the underlying system is still flawed. It's like trying to lose weight by just dieting for a month instead of changing your whole eating and exercise system.
And it also connects to happiness, doesn't it? That whole idea of I'll be happy when.
Oh, massively. That's the third big problem with being too goal-focused. Goals restrict your happiness. The hidden assumption behind almost any goal is, once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy.
We've all been there.
We have. And it leads to constantly pushing happiness off until the next milestone. We promise ourselves happiness only after we hit a certain weight or get that promotion or whatever external marker. Happiness becomes this thing for your future self to enjoy, always just out of reach.
A moving target.
Totally. Plus, goals create this either-or conflict, success or failure. There's no room for just enjoying the process itself, which is often where the real fulfillment is found.
Right. If you only care about the finish line, you miss the journey.
Exactly. And what happens when you do achieve the goal? Often it's a temporary high, then drift. Or you immediately set a new higher goal, restarting that whole cycle of delayed happiness.
Okay, so if it's not about just setting goals, what should be the focus? This brings us to identity-based habits, which feels revolutionary. And it ties right back into that self-refinement idea.
It really is the core. This is where that truth your habits aren't just things you have, they're who you become really hits home. Clear states it plainly. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity.
What you do shows who you believe you are.
Pretty much. Consciously or unconsciously. There's that great research showing people who identified as being a voter were way more likely to vote than people who just said they wanted to vote.
That subtle shift. I am a voter versus I want to vote.
It changes everything. Someone who incorporates exercise into their identity doesn't have to, constantly convince themselves to train. Doing the right thing becomes easy because they're just acting like the person they already believe they are.
So when behavior and identity line up,
You're not even pursuing behavior change anymore. You're just being that person. And it's not just a mental trick. Think about it. If you truly become the type of person who runs, that internal debate, should I go for a run today? It just melts away.
because it's just what runners do.
Exactly. It's not a chore. It's an expression of who you are. It changes the whole internal landscape, making consistency almost effortless. It's moving from, I have to do this, to, I am this, and that's where the real power is. You're designing your internal self, not just your external actions.
That makes so much sense. It shifts the entire motivation. It's not, I want to do this. It's, I want to be this. A subtle shift, but monumental.
Yeah.
Makes the actions feel almost inevitable.
Precisely. And it's not a one-way street either. It's a powerful feedback loop.
Ah, right. Habits shape identity. Identity shapes habits.
It's a two-way connection, this continuous dance of self-creation. Every single time you perform a habit, you're essentially casting a vote for the type of person you want to become.
Like reinforcing that identity.
The more votes you cast, the stronger that identity gets. And while all habit formation has a feedback loop, the key is letting your values, your principles, your identity drive that loop, not just chasing results. The ultimate goal should always be becoming that type of person, not just hitting a specific outcome.
That's why identity change is the North Star.
Exactly. It's the North Star of habit change. And when your habits are handled, when they align smoothly with who you believe you are, your mind is freed up. You can focus on new challenges, master the next set of problems. Building habits now lets you do more of what you want later because you've automated behaviors that fit your desired self, freeing up precious mental energy.
Okay, so once we understand that deep identity shift is the North Star, the next question is obviously how do we actually do it? How do we turn that desire to be someone into concrete, repeatable actions? This is where Clear gives us that practical blueprint, right? The 4 steps.
Yes, the process for building any habit, good or bad, can be broken down into 4 simple steps. Cue, craving, response, and reward.
Cue, craving, response, reward.
That 4-step pattern, it's the backbone of literally every habit. Your brain runs through these steps in the exact same order every single time. It forms this continuous feedback loop that reinforces the behavior. Think of it like the basic operating system for how we learn and automate stuff.
Okay, let's break those down. Understanding each piece seems crucial if we want to, tinker with the system. What exactly is the cue?
The cue is the trigger. It's that little bit of information that predicts a reward down the line.
The spark.
Yeah, the initial spark that kicks off the whole habit loop. Our ancient ancestors paid attention to cues signaling primary rewards, food, water, sex stuff, vital for survival. Today, we've learned cues that predict secondary rewards, money, fame, status, approval, friendship, or just that feeling of satisfaction. Even these modern things indirectly boost our survival odds, which is still the deeper evolutionary drive.
So our brain is constantly scanning.
Continuously analyzing your internal and external environment, what you see, hear, smell, feel, even think, looking for anything that hints at a reward. That notification buzz on your phone, that's a cue. Feeling bored. That can be an internal cue.
Okay, so the brain picks up a cue. Then comes the craving. This feels like the engine.
Correct. The craving is step 2, and it's the motivational force. It's not actually about the reward itself, but the feeling of wanting it.
The anticipation.
Exactly. The anticipation drives us. You don't actually crave the cigarette. You crave the feeling of relief it promises. You don't crave turning on the TV. You crave the entertainment. Without that craving, that desire for a change in state or some perceived benefit, there's no reason to act. It's the emotional pull towards the predicted reward.
And then the response. That's the actual thing we do.
Indeed. The response is the habit itself, the thought or the action you take. Picking up your phone, lacing up running shoes, thinking a certain thought, that's the physical or mental habit. And how much effort the response takes directly impacts whether you'll do it.
If it's too hard, you won't bother.
Pretty much, which is why making habits easy is so vital, but we'll get to that.
Finally, the reward. The payoff that closes the loop keeps us coming back.
That's it. The reward is the satisfaction. It scratches the itch of the craving and provides pleasure. Your brain is basically a reward detector, always monitoring which actions satisfy desires and feel good.
And what works?
Right. Pleasure and disappointment are feedback mechanisms helping the brain sort useful actions from useless ones. Rewards close that loop, complete the cycle, telling your brain, hey, this sequence, remember it, repeat it. It's that feeling of relief or accomplishment that cements the connection between cue, craving, and response.
So if any one of these 4 stages is weak or missing, the habit just fizzles out. It sounds like a delicate chain.
Precisely. They're totally interdependent.
Yeah.
Eliminate the cue. Habit never starts. No trigger. Reduce the craving. No motivation to act. Make the behavior really difficult. You just can't do it. And if the reward doesn't satisfy it, well, there's no reason to repeat it.
Makes sense.
The book puts it clearly. Without the first 3 steps, a behavior will not occur. Without all 4, a behavior will not be repeated. Understanding this whole loop is the foundation for the 4 laws of behavior change, which tell us exactly how to make good habits stick and break bad ones.
Right. Now that we understand the habit loop, it's time to get behind the wheel.
Yeah.
James Clear distills all this into 4 laws. They sound simple, but they're incredibly powerful in practice. Law number 1, make it obvious. Sounds easy. But so many of our habits just run on autopilot, don't they? Almost invisible.
Oh, absolutely. A huge chunk of our habits become so automatic, so non-conscious, they're practically invisible to us.
Yeah.
Think about that bowl of candy on the counter, the TV remote right next to the sofa, the phone always in your pocket.
They just blend in.
Exactly. The cues are so common, they just disappear into the background.
Yeah.
Our responses get so deeply wired that the urge to act feels like it comes out of nowhere. That's why behavior change always starts with awareness.
That Carl Jung quote comes to mind.
Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Spot on. If a habit stays mindless, just an automatic reaction to some unnoticed cue, you can't possibly understand it, let alone improve it or change it. It's step 1 in self-refinement. Actually seeing what you're doing.
So how do we drag these unconscious habits out into the light? What tools does Clear give us?
He offers a couple of really powerful awareness tools. First, there's the habits scorecard. It's super simple, but really profound. You just list your daily habits from waking up to going to bed.
Everything.
Pretty much everything you can think of. Then you rate each one. Plus for good, minus for bad, equals for neutral. This forces you to notice them, to consciously acknowledge the cues that trigger them. Like when you walk into the kitchen, do you automatically reach for coffee? Or maybe that sugary snack? The scorecard helps you spot those invisible triggers.
Okay, that sounds useful. What's the second tool?
It's inspired by the Japanese railway system's pointing and calling technique.
All right.
Conductors literally point at signals and call out the status. Signal is green. Doors closed. This bumps their awareness up from non-conscious habit to a more conscious level. Drastically cuts down errors, improves safety.
So apply that to personal habits.
Exactly. You can verbally state your intention. Instead of just mindlessly grabbing your phone, say out loud, I am picking up my phone now to check social media. That tiny act pulls it out of the autopilot zone and into conscious thought, giving you that split second to decide if that's really what you want to do.
Beyond just being aware, how do you actively design your environment? Make the good stuff obvious and the bad stuff less obvious. It sounds like we can actually engineer our surroundings.
This is absolutely critical. Your environment can be your biggest ally or your worst enemy. One great strategy is using implementation intentions, basically giving your habits a specific time and place.
The formula. I will behavior at time and location.
Perfect. I will meditate for 10 minutes at 7 a.m. in my living room. The goal is to make the time and location so clear, so obvious, that after enough repeats, you just get an urge to do it automatically. Like Pavlov's dogs, right? You might start feeling restless around your usual workout time just because the cue is so strong.
Okay, that's one way. What else?
Another really effective one is habit stacking. You link a new habit you want to build onto one you already do consistently. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit.
Using existing routines as triggers.
Exactly. After I pour my morning coffee, I will read 1 page of a book, or after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. You piggyback on established pathways.
And the environment itself, you mentioned Kurt Lewin's equation, B equaled FPE.
Right. Behavior is a function of the person in their environment. It means our actions aren't just about us, our personality, our willpower. They're profoundly shaped by the context we're in.
Small changes, big impact.
Huge impact, often without us even noticing. We tend to grab the most obvious, convenient option, the Bud Light in every bar, the Starbucks on every corner. So leverage this. Make cues for good habits super visible. Put your running shoes by the door. Keep healthy snacks out on the counter, not hidden away. Put your book on your pillow. Sprinkle these visual triggers around.
Make the right choice the easy choice to see.
Exactly. And building new habits, way easier in a totally new environment. You're not fighting those old ingrained cues and associations. Also, the one space, one use mantra is really helpful. Clear talks about setting up a separate office. It made it easier to switch off from work because there was a clear boundary. Each room has one main purpose. Avoids mixing contexts, like trying to work from your bed.
Which messes with both work and sleep.
Totally.
So if we make good habits obvious, the flip side is making bad habits invisible. That sounds tough, especially for ingrained ones. Hiding temptation.
It is tough because our brains are wired for those immediate rewards. Just trying to resist temptation with sheer willpower. That's usually a losing battle long term. It just drains too much mental energy.
You can't maintain a Zen attitude constantly.
Right. Life is full of interruptions, constant cues for distraction. Ultimately, we become a product of our environment. As the book says bluntly, I have never seen someone consistently stick to positive habits in a negative environment.
Wow. Okay.
So the most reliable approach, cut bad habits off at the source, remove their cues entirely. Don't want to eat junk food. Don't keep it in the house. Spending too much time on your phone, delete the apps or leave the phone in another room.
Preemptive strike. Remove the trigger before willpower is even needed.
Exactly. And it's also crucial, as Claire points out, that shaming people, showing smokers blackened lungs, lecturing people about weight often backfires.
So?
It increases stress. And what do people often do when stressed? They reach for their coping mechanisms, smoking, overeating, the very habits you're trying to stop. Bad habits become, in his words, autocatalytic.
Meaning they feed themselves.
Yeah, like a chain reaction. One bad choice triggers another. Eating one cookie leads to the whole box. A stressful moment leads to a cigarette, which makes you crave another later. The process itself creates more of the desire, makes it incredibly hard to stop once you're caught in that cycle.
That's a really important point about shame. It shows how deep the psychology runs. Okay, let's shift to the second law. Make it attractive. Our brains are wired for pleasure, for what feels good. How do we harness that pull towards desire to build good habits?
Well, it's fascinating how our ancient instincts get exploited today. Think about supernormal stimuli. Nico Tinbergen's famous experiments with gull chicks.
Right, pecking at the red dot.
Yeah. They'd peck more intensely at a bigger, redder spot on cardboard than at their actual mother's beak. And geese trying to retrieve huge fake eggs bigger than their own. These are exaggerated cues, hijacking natural preferences.
And modern industry uses this.
Oh, constantly. Especially the food industry. Products are designed to be super normal. They amp up qualities like the crunch of chips, the fizz of soda, that Oro sensation, how it feels in your mouth, the texture.
Dynamic contrast, like crunchy outside, soft inside.
Exactly. All designed to exploit our ancient cravings for salt, sugar, fat with an intensity way beyond anything found in nature. Makes them incredibly attractive, even addictive.
And dopamine is key here, right? But it's not just about pleasure itself.
Correct. For ages, we thought dopamine is pleasure, but the newer science shows it's much more critical for motivation and anticipation. The biggest dopamine hit isn't usually from getting the reward, but from wanting it.
The craving phase.
That's the surge. It compels us to seek, to act, to pursue. So when you're scrolling Instagram or reaching for that snack, it's often the anticipation of likes, of taste, the promise of satisfaction that's driving you, maybe even more than the actual experience.
And addictive behaviors hijack this.
Precisely. Things like drugs, junk food, video games, social media, they're linked to higher dopamine release because they create that intense anticipation loop. Understanding this lets us try to rewire our brains by linking positive habits to attractive experiences.
So if dopamine is about anticipation, how do we consciously make good habits more appealing, more attractive?
One great strategy is temptation bundling. This means pairing an action you want to do with an action you need to do.
Like only listen to your favorite podcast while cleaning.
Perfect example. Or only watch Netflix while you're on the exercise bike. You link a high desire activity with a low desire one, making the chore more attractive by association.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Another huge force is social norms and group influence. We're herd animals deep down. We have this innate drive to fit in, bond with others, earn respect and approval. So behaviors become attractive when they help us belong.
We copy the people around us.
We tend to imitate three groups especially. One, the close friends and family. Think how smoking often starts in friend groups or dietary habits spread within families. 2, the majority, the tribe. If everyone in your office brings a healthy lunch, you're more likely to as well. And 3, the powerful people with status we admire. If someone you respect has a certain habit, you're more inclined to adopt it.
Like those Polgar sisters raised to be chess champions.
Exactly. Their parents created an environment where chess wasn't forced. It was normal, celebrated, rewarded. It became inherently attractive to the girls because it was the culture of their tribe.
So our social world shapes what we find attractive, often unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
What about changing our own internal feelings? Can we actually reframe a chore to feel desirable?
Absolutely. This leads to mindset reframing, which is a really powerful self-refinement tool. You consciously change how you interpret feelings and cues. Alan Carr's method for quitting smoking is a classic example.
How does that work?
He systematically helps smokers reframe every cue associated with smoking. They start to realize they don't actually want it, they don't enjoy it. It shifts them from feeling like victims to feeling liberated.
So you change the story you tell yourself.
Exactly. You can apply this by shifting your language. Instead of saying, I'm nervous before a big presentation, reframe it. I'm excited. I'm getting an adrenaline rush to help me focus and perform.
Or I got to go to the gym instead of, I have to.
Yes. Those little shifts aren't magic, but they can profoundly change how you feel about a habit. Makes it way more attractive, more sustainable. It turns a burden into a privilege, aligning the action with a positive identity you want to build.
Okay, so we've made it obvious, made it attractive. The next logical step is Law 3. Make it easy. This is all about removing friction, making the path of least resistance lead to the good stuff. But first, there's that subtle but important distinction Clear makes. Motion versus action. Sounds philosophical, but it seems really practical.
It's a huge point, and one where people often get stuck. It's a major barrier. Motion is when you're planning, strategizing, learning, all good things, right? Researching gyms, buying workout gear, reading fitness blogs.
Feels productive.
It feels productive, but it doesn't actually deliver a result. Action, on the other hand, is the behavior that gets the outcome. It's actually going to the gym and working out.
Oh, okay.
We often get bogged down in motion. We tell ourselves, oh, I need to plan more or I need to learn more first. But really, often we do it because motion lets us feel like we're making progress without actually risking failure or criticism.
It's safer than doing the thing.
Totally. It's an easy way to put off the moment of truth. Remember Voltaire, the best is the enemy of the good. It's easy to stay in motion and fool yourself, but if you're not taking action, you're not getting results. Motion lets us avoid the discomfort of real effort.
And the key to making action easy is repetition, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about duration, but frequency.
Absolutely fundamental. Habits form based on frequency, not time. Every single time you repeat an action, you are literally strengthening a specific neural circuit in your brain.
Like building a path in the woods.
Exactly. Think of those London taxi driver studies showed the part of their brain for spatial memory, the hippocampus, was physically larger because they constantly used it to memorize complex routes.
Wow.
And it shrank when they retired. Like muscles, brain regions adapt with use and atrophy without it. Repetition is a form of change. The more you repeat something, the more automatic, the more effortless it becomes. You're carving that neural pathway, making the desired action the default.
So how do we actually make good habits easier to repeat? Reduce that friction you mentioned.
This brings us right to the law of least effort. It's just human nature we gravitate towards the path of least resistance. So to make good habits easier, you have to remove friction.
Like those Japanese factories streamlining everything.
Perfect example, lean production. They relentlessly cut waste, even redesigned workspaces so workers didn't waste time twisting and turning. Result: more efficient factories, more reliable products. Modern tech does this too. Voice assistants succeed because they remove tiny bits of friction. Easier to say, play music, than fumble with your phone.
Businesses make it easy for us.
Constantly trying to deliver the same result more easily. For personal habits, it means practical stuff. Lay out your running clothes the night before. Prep veggies on Sunday for the week's meals. Put your meditation cushion where you'll trip over it.
And for bad habits, add friction.
Exactly. Want to watch less TV? Take the batteries out of the remote, put them in a drawer across the room. Make it just annoying enough that you pause and reconsider.
Ah, I like that. It just makes sense we do what's convenient. What about preparing your space, not just for now, but for the next action?
Ah, yes. Priming the environment for future use. There's that great example of Oswald Knuckles, the IT developer, with his resetting the room strategy.
Right, cleaning up before you leave.
Not just cleaning up after the last action, but actively preparing for the next one. When he finishes watching TV, remote goes back. pillows arranged, blanket folded, leaves his car, clears out trash, showers, wipes down the toilet while the water heats up.
So the next good habit is ready to go.
Exactly. When he walks into a room, everything's in place, making the next right action effortless. Your future self will definitely thank your present self for setting them up for success.
And those tiny choices throughout the day, those little forks in the road.
Those are the decisive moments. Small choices, but they act like forks in the road, basically setting the menu of options available to your future self.
Like choosing takeout versus cooking.
Or driving versus biking. Starting homework versus grabbing the game controller. These early choices constrain what's possible later. Walk into a steakhouse. You can get sirloin, but not sushi. Your options were set by that first choice. Mastering these moments is key because our habits fundamentally limit where we can go. Each small decision creates the context for the next one, making the path to your goals either simpler or more complicated.
So how do you make starting a new habit incredibly easy, like almost foolproof easy?
That's the magic of the 2-minute rule. It's such a simple, brilliant idea. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to actually do.
So read before bed becomes...
Read 1 page, do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. The idea is to make starting absurdly easy. Anyone can meditate for 1 minute, read 1 page, put 1 dish away.
Lowers the barrier to entry.
Massively. Because once you've crossed that tiny initial threshold, it's so much easier to keep going. The first step shouldn't feel like a hurdle. You want a gateway habit that naturally leads you down a more productive path.
It's about showing up consistently, not the initial intensity.
Exactly. As Clear says, better to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all. The crucial part is just getting started.
Okay, and then how do you scale that up? Once you've got the 2-minute start down.
Once the habit is established, once you're showing up consistently, you combine the 2-minute rule with habit shaping. You master the first 2 minutes of the tiniest version, then you advance gradually to an intermediate step, but you still focus just on mastering the first 2 minutes of that new stage before moving on again.
So building incrementally.
Right. Goal is run 5 miles. Start with put on running shoes, 2 minutes, then maybe walk outside for 2 minutes, then run 1 block. You scale up slowly, always making sure the start is easy, building confidence and consistency before you increase the difficulty.
This all seems geared towards making habits completely automatic, almost inevitable. That sounds like the peak of habit formation.
That's the ultimate goal, really. Automating habits. The absolute best way to break a bad habit. Make it impractical, even impossible. And for good habits, make them inevitable.
Like Riddy's cash register stopping theft.
Perfect historical example. It automated honesty by making theft impractical. Today, we can use tech and systems, automatic prescription refills, automatic savings deductions straight from your paycheck into a separate account,
Meal delivery services, bypassing grocery shopping.
website blockers, stopping social media during work hours. It's all automation. As the mathematician Whitehead said, civilization advances by extending the number of operations we can perform without thinking about them. Automation just frees up your mental bandwidth for higher level thinking, for real refinement.
Okay, that brings us to the fourth and final law. Make it satisfying. Seems obvious we want rewards, but there's that big challenge in modern life, right? Our brains aren't quite built for our current world.
Yes, there's a fundamental mismatch that explains why instant gratification is so incredibly powerful. Modern society is mostly a delayed return environment.
Meaning?
You do good work today, paycheck comes weeks later, exercise consistently, maybe see results next year, save money diligently, retirement is decades off. The reward is far removed from the action.
But our brains didn't evolve for that.
Not at all. Our brains are largely the same as our Paleolithic ancestors from hundreds of thousands of years ago. They lived in an immediate return environment. Hunt the animal, eat it now, find shelter, use it now. The reward was directly, immediately tied to the action. Survival depended on it.
So that bias towards instant gratification is hardwired because it used to keep us alive. No wonder we struggle with long-term goals.
Absolutely. And this biological bias creates huge problems today. Why? Because the consequences of bad habits are usually delayed, but the rewards are immediate.
Smoking feels good now, kills you later.
Overeating tastes great now, harms you long term. Unsafe sex, immediate pleasure, potential future risks. We all want better lives for our future selves, but when that moment of decision hits, that deeply ingrained craving for instant gratification usually wins.
You choose for present you, not future you.
Exactly. Present you wants to be full, pampered, entertained now. As a general rule, the more immediate pleasure an action gives, the more skeptically you should view its alignment with your long-term goals and identity.
So how do you bridge that gap? Trick your ancient brain into loving delayed rewards.
The solution is elegant. Add immediate pleasure, or pain. You need to train yourself to delay gratification by attaching a little hit of immediate pleasure to the good habits that pay off later, and a little sting of immediate pain to the bad ones.
Give me an example.
Clear talks about a couple wanting to cook more or save money. They set up a savings account labeled Trip to Europe. Every time they skipped eating out, boom, $50 transferred into that account.
Immediate visual progress.
Exactly. Seeing that trip to Europe balance grow provided immediate satisfaction, reinforcing the long-term goal. And critically, the reward should reinforce your desired identity, not clash with it.
Right. Rewarding exercise with ice cream sends mixed signal.
Totally. But rewarding it with a massage.
Yeah.
That reinforces your identity as someone who cares for their body. There's that amazing example in Karachi, Pakistan with hand washing. People knew it was important for health, but didn't do it consistently.
All right.
So researchers partnered with P&G to give families Safeguard soap. It was a premium soap, lathered well, smelled nice. It made hand washing a genuinely more pleasant, more satisfying sensory experience.
But it worked.
Dramatically. Diarrhea rates dropped over 50%, pneumonia almost as much. And years later, almost all the households still had soap and water stations. The immediate satisfaction made the healthy habit stick long after the free soap ran out. It shows the power of making good behavior immediately satisfying.
That's incredible. What other tools give that immediate satisfaction boost?
Habit tracking is super effective. It gives you that immediate visual proof of your hard work, seeing that streak grow or just marking an X on the calendar.
Feels good.
It really does. It's motivating not to break the chain. Most importantly, tracking itself can become its own reward. It's satisfying to cross things off a list, complete a workout log entry. It makes abstract progress feel concrete and satisfying right now, even when the big payoff is miles away.
And for stopping bad habits, how do you make them immediately unsatisfying? Painful even.
The best way is to make them painful in the moment. Setting up an accountability partner or a habit contract does exactly that.
Like that extreme nuclear code idea.
Yeah, Roger Fisher's idea illustrates the principle. Create an immediate, unavoidable cost for failure. More practically, Clear mentions a client, Harris, trying to lose weight. He had to pay his trainer $100 from his targets, $500 to his wife for missing weigh-ins.
And wear a rival team's hat. Ouch.
Right. Those immediate tangible costs are powerful motivators because our brains hate immediate pain. Even just having an accountability partner helps immensely. Knowing someone's watching creates an immediate social cost. You don't want to look lazy or untrustworthy.
Reduces procrastination.
Significantly, like Margaret Cho doing a song-a-day challenge with a friend. You can even automate consequences with tech, making bad habits impossible or just painfully expensive.
Okay, we've covered the 4 laws, the practical framework. But what about the long game? Moving beyond just building habits to sustaining them.
Yeah.
Truly evolving, heading towards mastery and that continuous self-refinement.
This is where it gets really interesting. Moving beyond individual habits to a broader life strategy. One key piece is finding your right game, which connects to your natural inclinations, your genetic predispositions.
Meaning some things are just easier for some people.
Competence is hugely context-dependent. Real greatness isn't just about hard work, it's about being unusually well-suited to the task. Genes don't lock you into a destiny, but they definitely highlight your areas of opportunity.
Genes predispose, they don't predetermine.
Exactly, like Gabor Mate says. Someone naturally tall and lean might find basketball easier than gymnastics. Habits are just easier, more satisfying, when they align with your natural talents. The goal is to play a game that favors your strengths. And if you can't find one, get creative and create a game where your unique strengths give you an edge.
So genes don't replace hard work. They just clarify where to focus it for the best results.
Precisely. Tells you what to work hard on for the highest return on effort and satisfaction.
So find that sweet spot where talent, interest, and opportunity meet. Then, once you're in the right game, how do you stay motivated long-term? Push past plateaus without just burning out.
That leads right into the Goldilocks rule. Peak motivation, peak enjoyment happens when you're working on tasks that are juiced at the edge of your current abilities.
Not too easy, not too hard.
Exactly. Not so easy, you get bored. Not so hard, you get frustrated and quit. Scientists estimate it's maybe tasks about 4% beyond your current level. That keeps you engaged, challenged, but not overwhelmed. It leads to that flow state, fully immersed, energized, productive.
That's where the journey feels most rewarding.
That sweet spot of manageable challenge is where you keep pushing, learning, refining without feeling defeated. It's where endless self-refinement feels good. But there's a huge, often overlooked challenge, even for the most talented people in the right game, and that's boredom.
Ah, the grind.
An elite weightlifting coach told Clear, the difference between the best and everyone else often boils down to who can handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over.
It's not that they don't feel bored.
No. Successful people feel the same lack of motivation, the same urge to slack off, the same boredom as everyone else. The critical difference: they find a way to show up anyway. Mastery needs consistent practice, but practice inevitably becomes routine, predictable, less exciting. The novelty wears off.
So it's not about endless passion, it's about discipline when you're not feeling it. That's tough.
It is, and it's the core difference between professionals and amateurs. Professionals stick to the schedule, amateurs let life get in the way. Anyone can work hard when they feel motivated, when things are new and exciting, but it's the ability to keep going when the work isn't exciting, when it feels like a slog. That's what makes the difference in achieving mastery.
You have to fall in love with boredom.
That's the phrase. Be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. You have to fall in love with boredom. That sustained, diligent work, even when it's mundane, separates the masters. It's the ultimate test of your commitment to that identity you're building.
This picture of constant refinement, building on who you are, it's powerful. But can that identity, once it's solid, actually become a barrier? Seems paradoxical.
That's a really sharp observation, and it hits on a subtle but crucial point. Building identity-based habits is vital for getting started, for consistency. But there is a potential downside.
How so?
In the beginning, repeating the habit builds evidence for your new identity. I'm a healthy eater, I'm a writer. But once you really latch onto that identity, those same beliefs can, paradoxically, hold you back from the next level of growth.
Your identity becomes too rigid.
It can. When it works against you, your identity can create a kind of pride that makes you deny weak spots, dismiss helpful criticism, and resist further growth. The more sacred an idea is, the more tied it is to who you think you are, the harder it is to question it, to adapt, which is essential for true mastery and continuous improvement.
Can't just keep doing the same thing forever and expect to get better.
Exactly. Habits are necessary, but they're not sufficient for mastery. You need a system for ongoing improvement, for challenging your assumptions, for being open to new, maybe uncomfortable insights. And this whole journey is deeply tied to how we understand happiness and satisfaction. As Kate Boudreau's put it, happiness is the space between one desire being fulfilled and a new desire forming.
We're always chasing something.
We chase the idea, the image of pleasure in our minds, the perfect meal, vacation, achievement, but the actual satisfaction, that only comes after the action, after the desire is met. Viktor Frankl said, happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue. Desire is pursued, pleasure follows action.
Our actions reveal what we really want.
They reveal our true motivations. If you say something's a priority but never act on it, well, you don't really want it. Emotion drives action way before logic kicks in. We feel first, then act, then maybe rationalize. Ultimately, Clear boils it down. Satisfaction, liking, wanting. If your wants constantly outrun your likes, if you're always desiring more than you appreciate what you have, you'll always be unsatisfied.
Happiness is relative. It recalibrates.
Totally. Clear talks about celebrating wildly when he got his first 1,000 email subscribers. A few years later, 1,000 people were signing up daily, and he barely registered it. Felt normal.
90 times faster results, but less pleasure.
Because his expectations had shifted. The pain of failure often tracks with the height of expectation. So this journey of endless self-refinement, it's not about hitting some fixed point of perfect happiness or becoming some static, ideal version of yourself. It's about constantly evolving your identity, finding satisfaction in the process itself, and understanding that those unconscious actions you take truly become who you are, paving the way for limitless growth.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive. It really hammers home that profound truth from Atomic Habits. Your habits aren't just these separate actions, things you do. They literally are who you become. Every tiny choice, every small win, every little loss, it all compounds over time to forge your identity. It's this ongoing, continuous act of self-creation, of self-refinement. It's about seeing those subtle forces shaping us and then consciously, deliberately engineering them for growth.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Think about a habit you've successfully woven into your life. Something that maybe felt hard once, but feels pretty automatic now.
Okay.
How has integrating that habit fundamentally shifted how you see yourself? What new possibilities, what new avenues has that identity shift opened up for your future self? Consider how, for you, the unconscious has become conscious in some part of your daily life, and reflect on the power that awareness gives you for your own continued refinement. Because that journey, it never really ends, it just deepens, revealing more and more potential within you.